Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies, and I'm Bill the Dealmaker.
And who are we?
What's up with that, Peter?
Well, poor Naomi has no name. I feel bad having a name, so I want to be nameless with her. So she doesn't feel left out.
That's very kind of you, Pete. Oh my gosh.
And the two other ones. We're the Bluettes.
All right,
let's
try this again. I don't want to be distracted. All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. I'm Bill the Dealmaker.
And I'm Pete the Rookie.
And I'm Naomi.
Okay, perfect.
Cut.
Make sure Emma gets my phone. All right, so how are you guys today?
Doing good.
Yeah,
doing good.
I already
It's
know
a
that.
gorgeous day outside.
Is it?
Sun is shining.
Haven't been out there yet.
Beautiful Tesla parked down the road.
Beautiful Tesla?
There is.
Yeah.
Really?
You-
Which way?
That way.
Yeah. I have to take a walk down there and check it out. Wow. Somebody's got some bucks in this neighborhood, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I wonder who that is. Okay, so we're on episode number 74, and I want to talk about something today that I have realized is a little too obvious for me and for you and for Naomi that I think we really need to clear up, because I've been getting like some twinges of coaching clients and some support tickets, not a lot, but maybe 3 or 4 over the last week where I've had to like explain this, and I thought, something's not, if these guys are sending me these questions, then maybe there's a lot more people that don't understand it.
Yep.
So let's go back to basics. So episode number 74 is how to buy houses with $100 deposit.
$100?
You can do that?
You're out of your
you
mind.
can't do that.
Actually, you could do it. You're right. You're absolutely both correct.
Because I only gave 20 on my last one.
You can give $10.
I was thinking more like $1.
Yeah.
I can scratch that up in my change.
So I wanted to just kind of talk about that for a couple minutes because, not a couple minutes, we're going to probably do it most of the show. I have some examples of how we can do it. I'm going to do some deal structuring because that's what we've been kind of doing the last few shows is deal structuring.
Good deal.
If you're on my email list, you've been getting a lot of examples of email. Are you on the email list? I should make sure you're on the email list.
I am on the email list.
You are? Okay,
I saw
good.
it. Yeah, it was great.
Poor Naomi.
What?
She's in the house with me. We're making the offers, and then probably has to come home 2 days later and look at what we wrote. Look at the deal in an email. So we've had a couple weird ones recently, haven't we?
Yeah, we have had some interesting.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that for a couple minutes? You comfortable with doing that?
Which one?
I don't know. Pick one. I would probably
I
do
think
the 6,000 square foot house that was actually 2,700 square feet. No, 2,200 square
Yeah,
feet.
20 right.
Wait a minute. The backyard doesn't count?
No, we actually had 3 numbers. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so this was a interesting dynamic. The data was showing way different from what the owner was proposing that the value was.
Right.
We're talking about 150,000 or more difference, and
in his asking price.
in his asking price,
Right.
from his asking price to what the data was showing that the value actually was worth. It was showing that it was 2,200 square feet in all the records. And we're sitting down with him and we're talking about, hey, is there some gold in the basement that's underneath all those papers, or what's going on here?
Right.
And he says, well, no, it's actually 2,700 square feet, which I'm still not convinced it justifies 150,000 for that other 500 square feet.
Right.
So that other 500 square feet is in his basement that is technically an unfinished basement. And so to not get taxed on that 500 square feet, he did not lay carpet, because once he lays carpet over that cement floor, he's stated that it then becomes a taxable living space.
Right.
So everything else is nice about the space, except it's just a cement floor that's painted.
I've heard that before. Is that actually true?
Well,
Does
he
it
said
depend
it
on-
was.
I've
Yeah,
heard. I
that's-
think I've heard that. It depends on the city.
Should
Right.
lift it up. Yes, I think each city has its own ordinance.
That's when guys. Well, I have walls, but they don't attach to anything.
He said that too.
You know,
he
right?
did say that
Right.
in that run room.
It floats, or it. I can remove. Yeah, sure.
Right. So he was proposing that extra 500 feet and his large yard accounted for $150,000.
Yeah, so he had a yard that stretched back to it because he was like on a cul-de-sac, and it stretched back to another street. And he, it was interesting because I don't think you and I talked about this. One of the things I noticed in the conversation with him was that he said, because I asked him about the zoning, about splitting it up, because he was pitching that there was another building lot there.
Yeah, he was.
But he did say when we were on the back porch, he said that it wasn't quite sufficient. The square footage wasn't quite big enough when he talked to them. So that means, and not that it can't be done, but it just means a variance,
Right.
which means probably 3 months and an engineer. So it's several $1,000s to make that happen,
Right.
right? Which, now that I look back on it, is probably the reason why he didn't do it. Because he was a little frugal.
Yeah, he was. And and a little unrealistic, I think.
Yeah.
So what Bill and I were thinking is, sometimes you need to let people. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can talk until you're blue in the face.
Right.
Giving the data and all the information. But if people have their minds made up, the only thing that's going to change their mind is themselves. And sometimes they need to walk that long, hard path with a realtor and seeing it on the market and getting an understanding for themselves rather than playing tug of war with them on I'm right, no, you're right, no, I'm right, or,
Right.
just back and forth. So
that goes back to the, which I don't know where it is, so I hope I don't get feedback from this, but the 5 offers, the 5 laws of offers. Do we have that somewhere, Emma? It's somewhere. So, I mean, I know I have a document, but it's the 5 laws
right.
of making an offer. And one of the laws in there is either be first or be last or be in the auction, right? And we were first. So he's telling us the person across the street was a realtor or something.
Right. And he didn't like the person across the street because the person across the street gave him the data.
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, well, he was pulling comps and historical data and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, this house doesn't fit that. Yeah.
Right. And this house is different. My house is special.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so the realtor that he liked was the realtor that came in and said, oh, gosh, this is going to sell in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
she's 1/2 of 1% of the best, or however that went.
right, keyword, the best of a certain organization, not the
Right.
best of everybody.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, there's a lot of things that I think he needs to find out, and I think it's best if he finds it out on
Okay,
his
so
own.
let's just go through the deal structure a little bit,
Yeah.
because that's like the psychology of it, right?
Yes.
So let's just go through what we were going to do. Let's say the numbers worked. Okay. Do you remember?
And is this just a plain single family house?
It is a single family house, but it is big. I mean, it is in a beautiful neighborhood. I don't think it's 480, but it's definitely, I think mid-3s, high to mid-3s.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's possible it could be that amount, but, excuse me,
So what year was the house?
I think it was the 70s.
About a 70s.
Yeah.
But, beautiful house, dated kitchen, dated bathrooms. The carpet was old. I mean, it was literally starting to,
Wrinkle.
kind of wave. And when you get into the 500, which is actually what he
Right.
felt it was worth,
Oh yeah.
people want it pristine,
Right.
and people want it,
It has to have all the
completely-
brand new gadgets and everything.
Sure.
Right. So,
Where's my granite?
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, they had a kitchen table that was like an island in the kitchen, but it was wood.
Mm.
You know, like a cutting board wood type.
Like butcher block?
Yeah, something like
Sort
that.
of.
yeah.
It was custom made, so to them it was very special and worth a lot.
When
to everybody
it
else,
was built.
Right.
Yeah. To everybody else, no, not so much.
Well, some people are in their head,
Yeah.
and there's a world outside.
there is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the proposal we
So-
had given him was actually he was offended by this second offer because after talking to him, I pitched to him, and that's such a bad word, but I proposed to him. How's that? A slot deal.
Mm-hmm.
So what I told him is that because I told him, I blatantly said to him that, if he can't give me equity, because his payments were $1,400 and change a month, and he wanted $3,000 because they're moving wherever they're moving needs that much money. So it had nothing to do with what I needed. It was all about what he needed, which is fine.
I know that person.
Yeah.
This is what I want. Well, that's your world again. There's
Right.
this one outside.
Yeah. So, anyways, I blatantly just said. I mean, I kind of harassed him a little bit because I
Yes.
said to him, "Go ahead."
You really want me to say what you said
Yeah.
to him? You're a damned fool.
I told him that.
You said you're a damn fool?
Yeah,
God, I wish.
Twice.
I don't remember saying
Now,
that.
what's
I'm kind of like kicking him under the table.
Now, what's... No, there's a reason. What was your strategy on that one?
To wake him up.
Okay.
Yeah, he was
'Cause he
awake.
wasn't listening.
His wife was laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, she was in agreement with us.
She was in complete agreement.
Well, she's been married to the fool for all these years.
He's been there 35
knows his ways.
He's been there 35 years, and he had the audacity to sit in front of me with a straight face and tell me he'd be out of the house in a week without using a dumpster. He's going to use his pickup truck.
And moved to South Carolina?
No. Right?
Why
Right.
does he still have a mortgage if he has... is that the mortgage, the payments?
College kids.
College kids.
Oh, okay.
Was
Yeah.
free and clear, and then they refinanced it for colleges.
Right. So
So I gave him a slot deal, and the point is to wrap it around to why we're talking about it in this episode is I had full intentions of signing a one piece of paper. Actually, my option agreement is two pages, because I have a few extra things in there, and I had every intention of giving him $100, and then going and finding his buyer. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk about the math on that, okay? You want to do it, or you want me to do it?
I can start, and if I start stumbling around a little bit, then
I'll pick up
you
the
just
slack.
take over.
Okay, good.
Okay?
No problem.
So the math on that was the thing that we never really nailed down was what we would sell it for, because I think that you had proposed, say, $470 or $460.
Yeah, he was.
Because
I think his low number was 441.
Okay.
I don't know why I remember that, but it was 441. I think.
Could have been. So you proposed a number and said, "We'll bring the buyer to the table because this is what we do."
Right.
And then we step out, and payments get mailed directly to you.
Right.
And was it at that point he said, "Oh, well, I thought you made money when it got completed," which was odd because he definitely didn't correctly
Yeah, he said
remember
that he
things.
had
There were a few things he miss.
Right. He said when he spoke to you on the phone, he
Yeah.
thought we stayed in the deal and held his hand till the end. That's when I blatantly said to him, "Well, we can, but pretty much. I mean, I'm insinuating he's being a glutton. Mm-hmm. He wants way more equity than what it's worth, and
Right.
he wants all the payments. So there's nothing in it for me.
Right.
So there's no benefit for us to stay in the deal. So
Right. So that was the second thing that you began to propose was we can, but we do dip into the equity. Our time is not
right. So
free,
what? So again, let's talk about this because we talked about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember? And if you don't, that's fine because we were there for 2 hours. Yeah.
You didn't take notes?
Do you remember how I gave him that offer when he said how much? What did I say?
You're talking about the
The lease
individual?
option.
You said last week. Or
Yeah, we talked about this last week about making the offer this way, and I did it in this house too. So when we were talking about us staying in, I gave him an offer. Do you remember what I said?
I think I remember you saying,
Yeah.
we're going
It's
to
not
dip
a
into
test.
your equity.
Yeah, and by how much?
And
I actually gave him the 15% number.
you did versus...
So I said to him, if you want to give me 15% equity and some room on the payments, then I'll stay in and I'll
Right.
hold your hand.
Right.
That was my offer.
Because that's
Right.
the lease option percentage. The loan to value
Absolutely.
ratio
Right.
is 85% equity and 15%
So I want to
loan.
stop. I have to stop here, okay? I have to stop. I know we're chit-chatting here, but we have to stop because I want you to get what I just said. And it's not that I said it. That I don't want to be like I'm like the hero here or nothing like that. It's just experience. I made the offer with, if you give me 15% and some room on the payments, that was the offer.
Yeah.
It wasn't all this complex numbers and math and all this stuff that we do on the board, you know. And that's one of the things I really wanted to talk about today is making offers like that.
Well, use the percentage.
But it was an offer that was easy to understand.
Yeah. And you didn't do all the math and you had to figure it out. You were actually very straightforward to the guy
Right.
that you need some equity because why would I bother? I'll give you something, give me something.
Yeah.
And the numbers we use for a lease option purchase is 15%, 85%.
Right.
So just the percentage is correct, whatever the number becomes.
Right. And
Right.
we actually indoctrinated him before that. I indoctrinated him and told him the same thing I tell everybody else. You know, because my story doesn't change. Whether I'm talking to you guys, structuring the deal, or I'm talking to the... You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Or I'm talking to the client. I tell them the same thing. I mean, they get it. But we indoctrinated him that there's only two places to make money in real estate. That's what the equity, which is, you know, the difference between what you owe and what you sell for, and cash flow. So if you're not willing... And I say this. If you're not willing to give me equity, then I got to do cash flow. So I need to get a lesser of payment. And if you're not willing to give me cash flow, then I need to have equity. Pick one or both.
Right.
I'll do a little bit of both.
Right.
But we can't talk until we get that straightened out.
Is that simple?
And we spent 2 hours with him trying to get that straightened out, and he just it never seemed to really click. And that's okay, because it's a numbers game, because we know we
Right.
got to sit in 5 houses before we buy one.
Right.
Right? So there you go. And lately, poor Naomi, because we're looking at some properties, like we looked at a really ugly house that day. Right? Really ugly house. I mean, it's one of the ugliest ones
The one
I've
in
seen.
town?
Yeah.
The drive-by?
Yeah.
Wow.
And quite honestly, you know, a year ago, I would have been that offer would have been in by now.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm kind of a little bit like we talked about. We went and had a slice of pizza, or I did, anyways. Naomi doesn't do pizza. She's a good girl. I'm proud of her, actually. I wish I had the horsepower she has with her diet. Maybe she'll rub off on me, Peter.
I'll try to help it.
Maybe I'll start eating healthier, like my wife's been trying to get me to do.
Well, you're trying to get surrounded.
Yeah, well, Naomi
There you
leads
go.
by example. She's really good with her food. And it's not even, I hope you take that as a compliment, because I'm impressed with how you eat. Anyway, so
Cool.
we went to have some lunch.
Clearly doesn't see the chocolate bar hitting.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm vegetarian. I have vegetarian friends. You know how they make that part,
How?
the meat part up? Cookies, candies, chocolates, and cake. They do
Oh,
the
really?
sugar thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't eat meat. I just killed chocolate. You know, come on.
It's dark chocolate, though, so it's
You know,
okay.
Oh, yeah. Rumor started by Nestle's, if you ask my health food store lady. Are we getting off topic?
Yes.
We might be.
So anyway, so we're having lunch, and I mean, we talked about it, and I point blank said to her, why do we have to do all this work? I mean, this is a 3 or 4 month renovation. I mean, it was what, 1,200, 1,500 square feet, and it probably would gobble up $60,000 worth of money.
Ooh.
I mean, it was
Easy.
nasty.
Easy. Yeah.
You know, and it's like we could bid on it, we could probably buy it, but it's like, why do I want to do that? You know, so I kind of feel like I'm restricting her a little bit, because she obviously makes money on when we buy houses. You know what I mean? And she said to me, "No, I want to do it." Then we would do it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just it's not just all about me all the time. It's just that what we're talking about today is buying pretty houses, right? Like the
Right.
house we were in, the house we were talking about when we were making the deal. It was close to a pretty house. It was gorgeous inside.
Really pretty.
She kept a really nice house. There was nice furniture, nice fireplace. It was well painted. You know, the rugs were good. Yeah, she did a really good job taking care of the house. But it's not a $500,000 kitchen. You know, the kitchen was nice. It wasn't like it was 1940s, you know, and it still had the rotary phone on the wall. You know what I mean?
That might have been a selling feature, possibly. But anyway,
Hey,
so,
phonographs are coming back. They are back.
Yeah.
Wait for the phone to come back.
Absolutely.
I could see Naomi.
Photo booths.
Yeah, I could see Naomi now listing it. And the house is full of antiques.
Treasured antiques.
Treasured antiques.
Everything needs
antiques.
adjectives, by the way. Treasured antiques.
Rich mahogany furniture.
Rich mahogany. That's my
See?
rich. Oh, boy. I read some of those like, God, I got to come up with stuff like that.
So let's just get back to the deal structure. And so the point is that if we pursued that property, it was say it was a $350,000 property, we would have wrote an option agreement and gave him $100, and we would have went and looked for our buyer. Right? So let's just kind of dissect that deal, and then we'll come back and we'll do a couple other mathematical deal structurings.
Yeah, because I have one question. Answer it at the right time if it's not now. A $350,000 house, would you ask $480,000?
No.
Because that's way over.
Yeah.
So wasn't that your offer to the guy, $470,000, $480,000?
Well, we never made that offer.
We never nailed down any numbers.
I thought you said a few minutes ago
very,
that you were going to give him somewhere around that. But
He wanted. I think he would have taken $440,000.
Yeah, but what do you do when it's a $350,000 house and you don't want to go more than about 10% over that to sell?
We have very, 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 very technical language for that.
Bring it to the market and see what happens.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Because I thought you were going to try that with the guy. Okay, you want $440,000? We'll see what the market brings and go, hey, I got bad news. Nobody will do this even. But no.
Well, we slip out the front door by saying that we're going to go comp it. But she's pretty clever. I mean, Naomi is definitely on her game. So she knew when we were sitting in the house what the house was worth.
Okay.
But she kind of plays it up that, well, maybe I missed something in the square footage and I'll add the 500 feet. And, you know, she's very cordial about it. She's not lying because it is true. But really what it needed was the two of us to talk about it. That's what it really needed.
Okay.
It didn't need us to go comp. It needed us to figure out how to structure the deal. Because she's catching up pretty quick, Peter. I mean, she talks my language pretty quick. So it takes the two of us bouncing around to say, well, what about this? And sometimes it's the next day. You know, it's like, you know, well, she'll call me or I'll call her and say, hey, you know, like we're selling a house in Meriden, and we had a conversation at lunch, and then 6 hours later we're talking on the phone again, and she has some bright ideas of how we can like get leads for the house. You know, I mean, it's just how it is. You know, it just kind of filters through. You know, but in this particular case, I think we just needed to talk about it, like the different strategies and.
We did.
You know,
and the thing was, we were both feeling, I think, the same thing, but we just needed to get on the same page and make sure that we were both.
Yeah, that's like the mommy-daddy syndrome. You know, you got the kids and you're like, go to your room. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, go to your room so mommy and daddy could talk. Like, where are you at? What do you think? You know, and what do you think? You know what I mean? And that's really what it is just because we got the people in front of us, you know, and they're sitting there. And the wife didn't say much. That was probably.
Yeah, she was real quiet,
Yeah.
but she was definitely in agreement. I know she loved when you kind of, okay, be quiet, sir.
Yeah.
I want to listen. She loved that. You
Yeah,
know,
I
when
told-
you
well,
said,
he-
I want to listen to her.
Yeah.
What is she? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking to her and he kept interrupting.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why she doesn't talk. Cause
She's not
first,
allowed to.
and then she can't change it. Nobody can change this guy. Obviously, this guy's not flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, how'd this whole thing start on the phone? Did he seem flexible?
Yes, in fact, he very much understood that it was a terms deal. He was comfortable with it. What appealed to him, which again, that I love about what Bill has the buyer do, is to verbalize, you know, what are the pros and what are the cons. And so he himself verbalized, well, you know, I think I would be able to get a better pricing for my property.
Help somebody
somebody. He liked the idea.
Because he said an entrepreneur, somebody that maybe, you know, tripped and fell, you know, kind of like meaning they stumbled in business and had some things happen.
Right.
And they're like on the rise again, you know.
So, you know, for a win-win situation, he felt that he would stand to make more money, which he was correct. He is correct.
Yeah, and that's the exact point that he kept hammering. And I like the fact that I'm going to do that and make more money.
Right.
Because he was adamant about making more money.
So how'd you do this? Because this sounds a little different to me, or not familiar, or I've been missing this for 2 years. So after you explain how it works, you ask him what he likes best about it, and he tells you?
Like the pros and the cons. Yeah, I'll hear Bill, and I think it's genius because they're verbalizing back exactly. It's taking their temperature, but you're getting an exact,
So what's the question you ask?
snapshot
I don't. This doesn't sound like something I'm familiar with. What do you actually ask to get that feedback from them?
I'm not even sure.
No,
I know what I would say, but go ahead because you're.
I mean, he'll just say, how.
What do you think?
Asked it, what do you think? What are the pros and the cons for you?
Sometimes I'll say, well, what do you think is good about this deal?
Yeah.
And what do you have concerns about? Which is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's to me like I've never heard that. Have I just not noticed, or just? Because that's really good. That's important. Have the person give you their feedback because everything's like blah 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 at them, bang 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 bang. Oh, it sounds okay. Bang 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 bang.
Right.
Good. So
one thing of note too, like the wife also verbalized her concern, and her concern was, somebody's going to come in here and somebody's going to, wear and tear
when they rent. If we do the slot deal,
right,
and they're leasing,
right.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Just so the audience knows. Okay, good.
So with a slot deal where they're lease, with the option to purchase at the end, and her concern was, the wear and tear. The house is currently pristine per se, and Bill looked at her and said, "You're absolutely correct. If they move out, yes, you're going to have to come in and repaint, and yes, there is wear and tear." And so just addressing it rather than, oh no, it's going to be pristine, which is complete fabrication. No, it's not. You're going to have to. But here's what we do.
Here's how to handle that.
Here's how to handle that because it's going to happen, and not necessarily.
And
where
I validated her too because she kept a nice house. I mean, it wasn't some fake. Oh yeah, you're really nice. Like some, like a passive aggressive type of a remark. She had a beautiful house.
Yes.
It was pristine, and she was a pretty lady and was well dressed, well put together, well mannered. I mean, she was just a cool lady.
Just very classy.
Yeah.
Very classy, cool lady.
So I said to her, well, nobody's going to keep the house the way you do.
Right.
So yes, that is going to happen. There is going to be damage. And the way we handle that is with the deposit, and we do this and we do that, and you just need to realize that if you do this, to expect that. Because it's true.
Right.
So that was good.
Yeah. So he just addressed her concern point on as,
right.
This is, so I think there was a lot of value in that. And then I felt what it really boiled down to was more of the pricing of the house.
Yeah.
And what I relayed to Bill, like I mentioned earlier, is he just needs an education, and we can't give it to him.
No.
He needs to go through the hard knocks of the marketplace and to have it sit at his idea of a number. And
so it goes back to what you're saying, Peter. He wanted to sell. He doesn't need to sell. And that's pretty profound. I've been really thinking about that a lot lately because you said that like a month ago or whenever it was, and I haven't really addressed it. But it's true. They have children that live in another state that are grown children with grandchildren.
Yeah.
She wants to go, but she's a stay-at-home mom, so she doesn't want to be a full-time babysitter. So she doesn't want to live with them.
Come on, Grandma.
Yeah.
I know the audacity.
Right. So she doesn't want to live with them, right? But at the same time, they want to have their freedom and they want to be closer because now it's 2-3 hour ride to each way to go see them, and they're all up there. They're all in the other state. So anyways, so let's go back. Can we go back to the deal?
Yeah.
So one thing I just want to say before we go with Naomi, I think what's happening is Naomi. I'm actually, for me, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but for me, it's a breath of fresh air because she's actually trained in sales. So some of the things that I do, I'm actually, the more time I spend with her, the more I want to spend time with her because she notices things that nobody else has noticed. No other acquisition manager has noticed before when I train them, and it's because she's got training in sales.
Cool.
So she actually gets some of the techniques, or she'll pinpoint exact things like, "That was really neat how you did that." You know, and to me, I mean, I know I did it, and it's just practice. I mean, I'm not anybody special. It's just that I've done it 3,000 or 4,000 times. You know what I mean? It's all it is. You know, but it's a breath of fresh air because instead of talking about the entire deal and me having to explain to her all the theory and all that kind of, she like has that background, which I didn't know when we hooked up. I mean, that's something I found out afterwards. So some of the things that we're talking about, I mean, it's definitely advanced stuff because she's got years of training, you know, sales training, and that makes a difference. Now, it doesn't mean that, you know, you have to have all these years and years worth of sales training to do what we do. It's allowed us to like get these systems that we have and these, you know, like the other day she said to me she's ready to do our presentation because when we were doing this presentation,
I was knowing what you were going to say before you were going to say it.
Right.
Yeah. So
you know, so she's kind of, and we're going to actually talk about that. We're going to, after the podcast today, we're going to actually go through, you know, when I train salespeople, the first thing we have to go through is the sequence of everything. And not that you need to do it in that sequence. You just need to know there's these 10 things you need to talk about. And maybe one guy might start at number 8 and you go 8, 9, 10 and then come back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or you might start at number 1 and go 1 through 10. But the point is you need to cover all 10 points. And it's not a verbatim drill where you have to like memorize things. You just got to have your own set of explanation.
Right.
And we talked about this the other day. There's no way she's going to do it the way I do it. You know, she's a little lighter than I am. You know, I could like, rawr, you know, I got that antagonism, New York antagonism type of a thing.
You're a damned fool.
Yeah. You know,
I almost die.
She's from South Dakota. You know, she don't talk to people that way. You know what I mean? So, but it doesn't matter because as long as we get to the end, you know what I mean? But I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother, a lot of episodes. So let's because we're kind of dancing around here. So let's get back to the deal structure because I want to talk about the $100. So the thing, you okay? Okay, good. We got everything out? Perfect. So the thing that I want to really, really explain, and then I want to do the math on a few other deals, is what is an option agreement? So I would like to put the two of you on the spot. First you, Peter, because we started, I don't know how long ago now. What's it been, 2 years now?
Yeah.
A little over 2 years?
Yeah.
And your job is to give me the rookie's viewpoint. Right? That's what it's been, is because there's things that I do that I've been doing for years, and it's not that I'm, again, anybody special or, you know, it's an ego thing or anything like that. It's just that I just do them and think nothing about them. And then your job is to like say, wait a minute, what is that? You know what I mean?
It's second nature to you, isn't second nature to the rest of us.
Yeah, you know. And it may not even be right. I mean, I've got my bad habits. I mean, we're going through that with Naomi now. I mean, you know, she, like, for example, I'm a dumbass, and I know sometimes I just do stupid shit, you know. We have this appointment we're talking about, and I'm sitting at my desk wondering, what do I do? It's like, and I call her, and she's on the phone. She's always on the phone, right? She don't call me back, and I'm like, what do I do? So finally we hook up, and I ended up being late to the appointment because of my own stupidity. And then at lunch, I'm like, okay, well, and she's like, it's right here, Bill. I just didn't click on my calendar. She put it all in the notes in my calendar, and I never even thought to click. Yeah,
the appointment.
Yeah, all the information was there. I just didn't know where to look for it.
Where's your personal assistant?
She's not going to read my calendar for me. It's something Emma would do to me. She's like, Dad. But Emma's good because Emma's like, Dad, you kind of got to like pay attention here. You know what I mean? Emma, at least Emma has the, you know, she's learned now that it's just, and I get it. I don't mind being talked to. I mean, I could dish it out. I could take it too, you know? So, you know, we're getting through a few of those things.
So next time I'll just say, you know, check your calendar.
Yeah, Yeah, now
check
she knows. Yeah, and I told her that. I said, you know, just beat me up. I'm okay with it. I mean, if it's there, it's there. And if I'm being a dumbass, then just tell me, hey, wake up. Where are you? Get your head out of your butt, Bill.
Have you checked your calendar?
Yeah, exactly. I did. I looked on my computer and I saw I had an appointment, but it said the name of the town, and I'm like, where's the address? What am I going to put in GPS? If I had just clicked on it, all the information was there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I'm like freaking out, and the other thing is I start freaking out, and it's actually in our CRM. I could have went into the CRM but no, I'm just being a lazy ass jerk,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she's running around doing all the work, and I'm kind of like, where are we gonna go? You know, it's like I could fix that.
Well, I'm glad you have a support team.
Yeah.
Support's good.
Anyways, so the option deal, I've alluded to this 3 times, so let's just get to it so we don't.
The $100.
Yes.
Benjamin.
So I want to explain the option. So I want you to explain the option first. So
Okay.
what do you think is an option? And what do you think, just the word option, what does that mean? Option to buy. Because you could do it to sell, too. It's the same thing. It's just different flows.
Okay.
Right? So let's do an option to buy so we stay clear on the
Option
definition.
to buy.
Yeah. So what does an option to buy mean to you?
So we take an option to buy,
Yeah.
meaning that we have the right to buy, and no one else has the right to buy while we have the option. So it's tied up for a certain amount of time. We usually do 90 days, or it depends, whatever it is. So if we say, well, we want the option to buy your house. So for 90 days, if that's what we stipulate, we can go sell it because we're going to buy it and sell it, but nobody else can come along and say, oh, I want it. The guy goes, oh, I gave it to him.
Right.
Because the point is, if you commit to somebody to do something for them, I will try to do such and such for you. Well, what are they going to do for you? Well, I promise that I won't stab you in the back and let somebody else take it from under your feet when you've done all this work to market the house, to find buyers, to bring people here, to clean it, to do whatever you do, spend money and effort. Then I say, oh, never mind.
Right.
So if you make an agreement, I will do this. I will take care of this much. I will clean the house. I will market it. I will find buyers, and I'll get a buyer for you. What are you going to do for me? You're going to promise that you won't, turn around and sell to somebody else. But a piece of paper says, I have the option for so much time. Nobody else does.
Right.
Right. Good. Could you grab me the dictionary? Right. No. I want the real estate dictionary. That's on the shelf that we just, all that material that we just put on the shelf there. Go ahead, Emma. What? Yeah, the brown book. Yeah.
The old brown one.
Go ahead. What do you think, Naomi?
I think we all color-coded today.
Oh, you didn't get the memo?
No, we did.
Oh, cool.
Emma. No, that's the right one. I just laughing. We're talking about options, and now we're on the color-coded clothes. Oh my God, we could so get off track so easily. The poor listeners go through this.
You have 3 of these?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. Go ahead, Naomi. What does an option mean to you? Color-coded.
Color-coded options.
Color-coding options. First we have pink, and then red and blue. So which option do you want? Do you want the blue option, the
There you
purple
go.
option?
No, it's not that definition.
Okay. So I agree 100% with Pete, but I can rephrase it in my own terminology.
Okay.
An option is you have the option to purchase while the dates of the contract are in force, or sell.
Right.
So either or.
Good.
That's protecting your interests.
Okay.
But also means you don't have to.
That is correct.
You don't have to.
Oh
You're
my
not,
gosh.
Right?
Pete, that's brilliant.
I
You
almost
don't
missed
have
that.
to. It's just an option.
Yeah, because see, if you think you have to, I got to sell this in 90 days, you're going to freak out. Because nobody promises to do anything in this world in 90 days. Realtors promise in 6 months they might sell it, and then if they don't, they just, sorry, you didn't sell it. No one thinks much of that. Well, it didn't sell. It's not my fault. It's not the realtor's fault. It's the house. So you don't have to buy it, or you don't have to sell it.
Good. So let's look in the dictionary first.
Yep.
If I can see it. So there's 4 definitions. The last definition is the real estate definition, so I'm going to read that. So it says negotiable right to buy, sell, rent, or use something for a specific price within a stated period of time. Right? Now, it's funny because the synonym for the word option means choice, which is what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Right, so let me read that again. So,
Yeah.
negotiable right to buy, sell, rent, or use something for a specific price within a stated period of time.
Is this an investor's dictionary?
No, just
I mean,
it's just
Yeah. Regular
The way that
dictionaries
was
have
Macmillan.
regular dictionaries have technical
But
terms.
let's go to the real estate investors dictionary that we have, right? So, There's two definitions. The first one is what we just talked about, the right to buy a home for a pre-negotiated price for an agreed-upon term, length of time, usually given in exchange for a non-refundable option deposit. Now, the second definition doesn't...
Non-refundable.
Yeah.
Sometimes people give it back. I never ask.
You could give it back.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second definition here is the one that we want to talk about, okay? So it's a contract in which the investor gives the seller some consideration. $100 is the preferred amount from the buying side for the right over a designated time period to market and sell the equitable interest in the contract to a cash out buyer. I'm fumbling around there. Just because I haven't read this, first time I read it. This is something called a straight option and does not include rights of possession, which are included in a lease option.
Oh. Yeah, because an option.
So an option is just you have the right to sell the property.
Not to
That's
live
all
in
an
it.
option is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had the right to sell the property.
So similar to like a realtor.
Oh, like
Right.
Mm-hmm.
well, you talk about in your 7 offers. The second offer, the 90% loan to value, is an option,
Right.
which we don't do much with right now. But that's just a plain option. We always talk about lease option.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was going on like, yep, lease option. So, it's distinction.
Yeah. So the lease option means you have the possession of the property.
Yeah, it could then sublease to somebody and find buyers. They stay there for years, and the rest of the lease option scenario.
So basically, an option agreement is it gives you the right to sell this property.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can have exclusive rights, like you were talking about before, or unexclusive rights. So if you have an option, a realtor could still be selling the property. Now, most realtors won't like that because they want exclusive rights, okay, where we don't. You know, so what we tell our people is if you do sell the property, you got to give us something in writing to say it is sold, and we'll stop the marketing. Because the only thing we haven't invested is $100. Now, do we want to lose the deal? No, but it keeps us motivated.
Right.
Okay. Now, here's the point that I want to make, and then we're going to do another deal structure. The point I want to make is that Peter, if I were to tell you, Peter, I'm going to on Thanksgiving and 2019, I'm going to give you $10,000. How would you feel about that?
I'd ask if I have 5 now.
Okay. But no, I'm going to give you $10,000 on Thanksgiving in 2019. How would you feel about that?
Well, that's nice to hear, but I don't have any proof or guarantee of such.
So if we get to Thanksgiving in 2019 and I don't show up, what happens?
Not much. I don't have anything written down.
Right. Okay. So you see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what an option agreement does is so first of all, we're going to negotiate how much I'm going to pay, and then we're going to negotiate when I'm going to pay it, and how I'm going to pay it. Right. So we're going to negotiate that. So we're going to negotiate how much, we're going to negotiate when, and we're going to negotiate how.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you $10,000. I'm going to do it on November of 2019, and I'm going to give it to you in cash. Okay, in a bucket.
Where?
And a bucket.
And where?
Yeah, I want to know where, because I'm going to be there.
Right. At my kitchen table.
I'll be there.
Okay.
And where's your kitchen table?
Right. Exactly.
You need to fine tune these details.
I know where his kitchen table
the
is.
The lawyer and Naomi's coming out.
Kitchen table.
I mean, his kitchen table could have changed by 2019.
Yes, exactly.
It could be in Australia and an undisclosed address.
Exactly.
I give you a job to track him for the next 2 years.
So what an option agreement does is just what Naomi's saying, is it clarifies and delineates what we're going to do. Okay? So when I give you the $100, that's to consummate the deal. In other words, make it legal. Okay? Because consummate means other things too in other arenas. But in this particular case, it means make it legal. Okay, so it is a true contract. It's not just something that I drew up and put a gun to your head and said you have to sign it. Okay, so we both agree because you accepted the $100. Okay, which, by the way, I used to give cash, and it's better to give checks because you have evidence. Okay, so now what happens is I go sell the house to Naomi, right? So I buy the house from you, we'll say for $150,000 on an option agreement on November 1st, okay, of 2017. I have until 2019 to pay you.
Okay.
So I put Naomi in there for 1 year, and I do one of two things. In a slot deal, I take the option agreement that I wrote with you, and I assign it to her. I pay $100 from you. I sell it to her for $10,000. Okay,
that's good
That's
paperwork.
some fancy paperwork.
totally. But now she's controlling the property, not me. And then she pays you the rent. That's in a slot deal. If it's in a lease option deal, then I stay in and she pays me the rent, and that's another story. But my point is that just the option agreement. I bought it from you for $100. You gave me permission to sell your house at these terms. Okay, and I'm going to go then have the ability to sell it to somebody else.
So do you need additional paperwork for that aspect of the deal, like the
Nope.
lease part?
Well, if you're leasing, the lease is one document, the option is another document.
Yeah, there's two separate documents because
Right.
they have it separated here. There's no possession, but just the option.
Right.
So lease option use two forms. One's the option, one's the lease. So you can do both. Okay.
So,
Forms.
so the other thing that I wanted to bring up here is okay. So now Naomi comes to me, and so we're in November 2017. I have till November of 2019. Let's say it's November of 2018. Naomi comes to me and says, "Oh my God, Bill, I'm doing great. I got a huge advancement. I went from making this amount of money to like double that amount of money, and I went to a mortgage guy and I got a mortgage."
Yeah.
So now she's ready to cash out. That's what we call cash out. Cash out means she's going to go get the mortgage, and she's going to pay off your $150,000 option agreement. Because you have an agreement that whenever, because you had the agreement with me that when I bring $150,000 to the table, okay, before November of 2019, I have to bring you $150,000. Naomi will say gave me $30,000 as a deposit, which I get to keep because it's towards the option agreement, so it's non-refundable. So the only way that Naomi can get that $30,000 is to close. If she leaves the house, she forfeits it. That's just how options work. Okay. Now she comes to me and says, "I had the $150,000." Now this is the important part. We talk slang in the real estate business, and we say, "I bought a house on an option." I didn't do that. I didn't buy anything. I bought the right to sell the house. I didn't buy the house. I bought the right to sell the house. So now Naomi has to produce a purchase and sales contract for the $150,000 because that document now predicates how you're going to close.
Right.
Okay, so the purchase and sales contract is what's going to close the property. All the option agreement did was just keep your negotiating and your agreements in writing until you can get to the purchase and sales contract. The purchase and sales contract is actually what you're going to close with.
That's purchase and sale.
Right. It's actually, I've been hearing lately, it's called a PSA now, purchase and sales agreement. Right? They call it a PSA now. It's slang. Right? It's all different words. So, so the purchase and sale agreement is going to be written between Naomi and Pete. So Pete knows, okay, now we no longer have the agreement that I'm going to wait till November 2019. Naomi came in November 2018 and wiped out the option agreement, sort of, with the purchase and sale. Came to me and said, "Hey, Pete, I got your $150,000. I want to close. Here's the name of my attorney. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's when I want to do it. Here's all the blah, blah, blah. And we're going to do it by December of 2018. And it changes the rules now on what's going to happen. It shortens them up, and it says, here's how we're going to do it. So a purchase and sales contract gives a new, more specific set of rules.
Well, when you have the original option for November of 2019, is it on or before?
Yeah.
So before
So
is
it's
fine.
covered. Before is okay.
Who minds getting their money early?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, the owner could say, hey, well, I wanted to get that rental income for a few more years. So, but at the same time, I don't think you'd run into that very much at all.
Well, it has to be written on or before.
Right.
So that if it comes in before, you can't say no.
That's okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no prepayment penalties.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's do a deal. I hope we have enough time to do this, but let's do a deal based on what we were just talking about, okay? So, seller has a $200,000 house in excellent condition with no mortgage. After questioning, you find out that the payments are $1,250 a month at 4% interest with no less than $20,000 down. In other words, they want $20,000 down.
$200,000 house. What's the mortgage?
Mortgage is, there is no mortgage, free and clear.
Pretty clear. Okay.
Okay. And they won't sell the house for less than $200,000. Okay.
And it's worth $2? That's,
yeah.
Okay.
So the seller has a house, has a $200,000 house in excellent condition with no mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
After you talk to him, you find out that it's $1,250 a month for a mortgage at 4% interest. And they won't take less than $20,000 down. Do you get that?
Well,
what are you confused about? We don't have time for this, Peter.
So,
why do they want $1,250 a month? Why don't they just sell the house and walk away? Why is there cash flow if they're just selling it?
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. Why is it free and clear? Because it's not free and clear. Oh, I'm sorry. There isn't a mortgage. He wants $1,250 a month at 4% interest.
Cash flow, like the
wrong.
owner finance.
So owner financing.
Seller financing. Okay.
So they
That's
want
just the money he
$200,000.
wants. Okay.
They want $200,000, and they won't take less than $1,250 a month at 4% interest.
So he wants 30 down, 20 down, and cash flow.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So here's my question: Can you buy that house for $100 down?
Absolutely. I don't know how, but that's the topic of today's show, so it's got to be yes.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, Naomi, tell them how.
Tell them how. So what they want is the same as the value, correct?
They want $200,000.
$200,000, and the value is
$200,000. $20,000 down.
$20,000 down.
And $1,250 a month at 4% interest. That's what they're asking. It's a free and clear
They
house.
want interest
Oh, okay.
for the 180 remainder balance.
So
forget about owner financing because we're not talking about that. So we're not going to go into all that other stuff. We're just talking about buying it. Can we? My question was, can we buy? Because he's asking $20,000 for a deposit.
Well, absolutely. You just write into the paperwork that when you bring that buyer to the table,
good.
That's when the $20,000 will be given.
You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so repeat it.
He can get the $20,000 when we take the house on a lease on a lease option, and when the buyer comes with his deposit, we give the $20,000 from some of the deposit, $20,000 to the seller,
right?
And hopefully we get more than $20,000 deposit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
and then the owner, then the new purchaser makes the $1,250.
So he's willing to do a lease.
Or $1,700.
Yeah,
he's willing.
He would have to be willing to do terms.
Yeah, so it'd have to be like maybe a 20% down or at least 30% down deposit, or not 30%. Excuse me, 20 or 15%. Renting it out or the lease for about $1,700 a month at least.
Right.
So you're making about $500 cash flow. And
well, you could do it that way. You could do it as a slot deal and just sell it for $210.
Right.
And then pass along. So let's just clarify. So the guy wants $20,000 down. So a lot of my students, a lot of my coaching clients think that they need $20,000 down to buy this house
out of their pocket.
Their pocket.
Mm-hmm. And funny thing is, don't have it in the old pocket.
Or they think they have to go borrow that money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make today.
Yeah.
Is you don't have to do that. What you need to do is find a buyer that's willing to give you more than $20,000.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it easy to do? Maybe, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that for $100, you can give them an option agreement, just like we talked about in the slot deal a minute ago. We could go sell the house for $210 because it's a pretty house.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer gives us $30,000 down,
Mm-hmm.
10 for us, and 20 for him. Now, I'm not saying that every single street corner is going to have this buyer.
Well,
So you might. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about with this seller is the $1,250 a month. I need at least 3 months to go to the market, and let's see what happens. Now, here's the point. Here's a point that you have to pay attention to. Naomi, let's bring it to the market and see what happens. I'm going to say it
buyers.
again.
oh yeah.
Naomi, let's bring it to the market and see what happens. Am I promising her I'm going to give her $200,000?
No.
What I'm saying to her is let's go find out if somebody will give me 30 grand down and will pay 200,000. I'm going to give you an option agreement for $100 so that I can do that. So if I do find that person, we have something in writing, and we're going to go to a purchase and sales contract based on this agreement that we have right here, right now.
Exactly.
That's an option agreement.
Exactly. Yeah.
So based on this agreement right now, you will sell me this house for $200,000, $20,000 down, $1,250 a month at 4% interest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good. So we need to sign this document called an option agreement saying that we agree upon that right now.
Okay.
So in 2 months from now when I come back, you can't say, well, no, I didn't say that. I said it was 6% interest.
Yep.
Or I don't want $1,250 a month. I want $1,500 a month because he talked to this or they talked to that, or some relative talked to him at Thanksgiving dinner and told him they're a fool for renting for $1,250 a month.
Right.
Or we come back and say, you only said 10,000 down.
Right.
It goes both ways.
Right.
Okay.
Protects everybody.
So now we have this agreement. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the market. So, I don't want to be ridiculous with this because I want to make sure that if I'm going to spend my money for marketing and my effort to sell this house, that I have a shot of making a profit.
Right.
Right? So I don't want to be ridiculous with the numbers. But basically what I'm saying is okay, well, I'm going to bring it to the market. What does that mean? Because I've said it like 5 times, so it must be important.
No, I've heard that line loud and clear many times. You said that.
Okay, so what does it mean?
Well, it means the buyer has, I want this much because I'm moving. I need that much for something. Well, that's nice, and you want whatever we want for money. That's nice, but we don't have the money. The buyer has the money, and there's no guarantee. This isn't Stop and Shop. It's on the shelf for $10.99.
Right.
The price is whatever somebody's willing to give you.
Right.
You got to find out what that is and let the market tell you what it is. Market adjusted reality.
Right.
Reality time.
So let's go back for a second. What did I say to the guy that you were taking back when I said to him, what were the words?
You said the buyers make the decision.
No. What did you say just a minute ago? You're nuts or something. What was it?
Oh, you're a damn fool.
You're a damn fool. And what did I say after that? Just what you
For listing your house in December.
Right. And then I said to him, right after that, I said, listen, it doesn't matter what you think.
The buyers
And
make
the
the
buyers
decision.
make the decision.
Yeah.
You could list this house for $1 million and nobody will show up.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
got a
at-
check once
at-
for $1 million. It wasn't negotiable, though.
Yeah.
It was April Fool.
Stop.
Oh,
No,
Pete,
it's true. It's true. Sorry, that made
you're
me
the
remember.
fiddles.
That was such a sad day. No, it's
So-
true. The market tells you what it is.
So the definition of equity is what somebody's going to write a check for minus what you owe. It's not the market value. It's not what you think. It's not what the MLS thinks. It's not what Donald Trump thinks, or you know what I mean. It's not any of that stuff. It's what's going to be written. So if I'm going to give you a $100,000 check and we're going to go to closing and it's worth $80,000, you have 20% equity, right? So it doesn't matter what happens. So in this particular case, what we're saying is, okay, $200,000, I think we could do that. $20,000, we'll give it a shot. $1,250 a month at 4%, okay. Now, if we consciously market this property and we have 100 phone calls, like we're doing right now with our
Right.
property, we count the phone calls, and we actually have people that have been in the house, and we actually have offers where people actually made us offers, and they're not substantial to what he wants. In the 3 months, what are we going to do?
We're gonna have a talk.
Right, and we're going to say, here's what I've got.
Yeah.
Maybe before the 3 months, but here's what I've got. So maybe at that particular point, there's a chance that he might take 10 grand down, and you have somebody with 20.
Right.
Now, I'm not
Right.
saying you should bank on that. You should keep your agreements.
Right.
But if it isn't, it isn't. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you wouldn't take the agreement if you thought it was ridiculous.
Right.
Right.
But
Exactly.
I think
It has to be.
it's,
It's gotta be
has to be.
doable.
Has to be within some
It's got to be doable.
margins of reality.
right.
Right. So So here's the punchline of today's show, which is what we've been talking about. I think we did a good job today staying on topic. How to buy a house with $100 deposit. So this guy wanted $20,000 deposit. Mm-hmm. We only gave him $100, but because we know that's how we got to do it, because we have to go find our buyer to give us $30,000 so that we could take 10 and he can keep 20. Mm-hmm. Now, if that doesn't happen, if you're thinking, I don't think I can get 20,000, that's okay. You just go market it and get statistical information. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not. Again, you have to consciously try to get to 20,000. You got to be ethical. You know what I mean? If you can get the guy to 20 grand, and maybe you only get 25,000, and you only get $5,000. Well, you have to make those decisions. I mean, why not do it? It depends on how much time you put into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a house I was doing that was a $200,000 mortgage and a $210 price, and I had a guy who was out of state, had $400,000 in a 401k,
right.
and would put $40,000 down. It didn't work out for other reasons, but he was sitting right in front of me.
Right.
Why? Well, he had a divorce. And he
Right.
couldn't get a mortgage, but he had the money, so
Right.
that would be 40. And so, I mean, I had the phone call.
Right.
So it doesn't happen. It's not the first phone call, but maybe the 10th or the 100th. But
it could go the other way too, just like what you're saying, Peter. So that maybe we can't find a $20,000. Maybe somebody's got $50,000. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times I had a couple one time that I sold a house to. They had just been foreclosed on. Now, ironically enough, the house they had equity. So when they sold the house, they did I'm not sure what happened, but they sold the house before they could get foreclosed. They put it on with a realtor and sold it before they can actually go through the proceedings.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And they got a chunk of dough. They never had that much money before. They gave that chunk of dough to me because where else are they going to go? They had no other place to go. They had 400 credit scores.
yeah, they couldn't get a loan.
They stayed at one of my houses for like 3 years. They were in the end. They ended up getting separated, and it was a pain in the ass. But the point is they gave me like $20,000 down on a house that I would have taken $7,000 down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and in fact, some of it, what we did is some of the money we actually reduced their rent for the first year by $200 or $300 a month because he was in whatever, there was some payment issue. So for first year, we reduced it, just took it off the price of the house.
Sure.
I mean the deposit.
Yeah.
So we took like $3,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 out of the 20 to prepay payments. Mm-hmm. Right, and then.
And there's a lesson right there. Just there's the cash flow, and there's a down payment.
Right.
So if one's weak, the other one's strong. It compensates.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the deposit.
Right.
Being flexible.
That's real money in your hand, not a promise for later.
Yeah.
But that'll compensate for a lesser cash flow for a term.
Right. So when I say you can buy a house for $100 down, especially the guys emailing me saying that this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to just sign an option. Now you can go from here. This is the basic type of. I'm holding the paper up. I don't know why I'm doing that. This is like the basic law or the basic thing on how you buy an option. Now you can go from there because now you can do like now you're going to occupy the house, so you put the lease portion into it. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, or you could do it as a wraparound mortgage, or you could do it as a finance. Owner financing. I mean, it just kind of goes from there. But you have to understand it's your position and what you're able to do. If you're able to give this guy $20,000 down, then you can do owner financing and negotiate the 4% and say, okay, I'll give you $1,250 a month, principal only payments, and then it changed the whole entire deal.
Yeah.
Because now every time your renter gives you $1,500, you're going to have $250 positive cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Or he gives you more because taxes, insurance, but you have $250 a month positive cash flow. Plus, every time you make a payment, you're reducing your principal.
Absolutely.
So it just kind of goes. I'm just saying from this position, right? You could easily for $100 buy this deal,
right?
And just cash out within 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to let that stop you when a seller is saying, well, I need this amount of deposit, I need $20,000, I need $10,000. You just write the paperwork different. That's all. It's
right.
that simple.
Right. It's all what you negotiate.
Yeah.
Now here's the punchline. Like Peter says, if the realtor takes this deal, what are they going to get?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Like, why would he wait 2-3 months to get the deposit? Well, if the realtor has it, you might wait 6 months to get the deposit.
Exactly.
You want it right now? Good luck.
Or more importantly, we only sell 2 or 3 houses at a time, so we're going to pay attention to this house. We're going to market it correctly. We're marketing people. We're more marketers than we are real estate.
It's a
people.
focused effort. Yeah.
And we're gonna hold your hand. We're gonna do a lot more than what a realtor would do, or what most realtors would do. Not every realtor, but what most realtors would do, because they're trained to just put it on the MLS and hope they catch a fly in the web. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the fly's got to be flying by before it can happen. You know, and it's got to be a little bit precise. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it much different. So hopefully we cleared up the whole how to buy a house with $100 deposit. What do you think?
I think we did.
Yeah,
if people don't understand after that.
I saw a couple of emails like, can you really do that? Now we're making it up.
Yeah.
We do it all the time.
Of course.
Yeah. I had one guy, I practically kicked him off my list. He came around, but I was like, he's giving me all this legal stuff, and I'm like, dude, you totally have a misunderstanding here. But it is what it is. We clarified it here. We spent a whole hour and 7 minutes on it. So I think that this will clear things up, so much so that maybe we'll transcribe this and actually make it a post or something like that. So, and we don't have any questions, right? Okay, good. So, thank you guys. I think we kind of stayed on track. We only diverted a little bit. I don't want to be too stringent and not have fun, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So, all right, good. So we're going to jump on over to our closed Facebook group, which is facebook.com/finding deals. And Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Emma. So that's probably why people can't find us, huh? So it's facebook.com/groups/finding deals.
Flipping houses for rookies.
You say it, Emma. You say it.
No, it's finding deals.
It's facebook.com/groups/flipping houses for rookies.
Okay. Wow. Facebook.com/groups/flipping houses for rookies. Everything else I said before that doesn't matter because it was wrong.
What happened to the finding deals part?
That's the name of the
It's
group.
the name of the group, but it's not the URL.
Okay.
So it's flippinghouses.com/group/groups/flipping houses for rookies.
Can we just copy that?
Yeah.
Copy and paste.
Also, if you have any questions about our show, you can go to info@flippinghouses.club, and the emails come to me. I answer a bunch of those support tickets. And lastly, if you want to get some more information from us, go to flippinghouses.club/more info. There's some cool stuffs there, some cool goodies. For those of you that are in Connecticut, in December 11th, which is a Monday night, not a Wednesday night, a Monday night, we're actually going to do a Christmas party at 128 Center Street in Wallingford. We start at 7 o'clock, and we're going to wahoo the hell out of it. I'm excited about it.
Are we going to learn a couple things, too, or just goof off?
We're probably going to goof off more than anything else.
Are you going to give away presents?
I'm going to give away
Are you
going to
be Santa Claus? Really?
Emma's going to be.
Mrs. Santa Claus?
Well, we haven't talked about that, but yes, I already know we're going to give away. I'm going to give away thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
Well, my wife loves being Mrs. Santa Claus. If you need a Santa,
okay. So that's at 128 Center Street in Wallingford, December 11th, 7 p.m. We're going to have food, like snacks and stuff, and yes, I'm going to give away thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So I would appreciate any company. We're going to talk some real estate. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to a few of our clients that have been with us for a while and have them talk about their deals, kind of like tell us how they got involved and what they did and their deal structuring and just stuff like that. So it's not just me talking.
That'd be great to hear, students, me, anybody who's actually done terms deal or flip, anything.
Yeah.
Right.
We know you can do it.
Yeah.
It's an event you want to be there for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be cool. So the other thing is please go to flippinghouses.club/podcast and give us a rating on iTunes. I've had some really cool ratings. We've got some really, I think, at this point, I looked yesterday, I think we just hit 600,000 downloads.
Oh.
So now we're heading for 1 million. That's
million?
Yeah, I want 1 million. Woohoo! So, yeah, exactly. Well, with Naomi, it ought to be easy because she keeps us alive, Peter. She keeps us on track and keeps us alive.
Keeping alive.
Yeah. So, Flipping Houses .club/podcast. All the podcasts we have, I think we're up to 74. We're always a week or two behind, but all the podcasts are there. They're all archived there. You can listen to all of them. But to the right of the page, you can rank us on iTunes. So please go give us a rating on iTunes. Good or bad. Okay? Over and out. We'll see you next week.
Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.